Listen carefully, because this is not a story about talent, not a story about destiny, not a story about someone who was chosen. This is the story of the boy who was supposed to lose, the boy everyone mocked, the boy who was born with nothing and still refused to kneel. Astha wasn't handed strength. He wasn't born with magic. He didn't inherit some glorious bloodline. All he had was a heart that refused to break, a stubborn fire that even fate couldn't extinguish. And that's the part people don't understand. They think greatness is born. They think success comes from blessings. They think you need a gift to rise. But Astha proved something darker, something far more powerful. He proved that when life gives you nothing, you become unstoppable. Because there's nothing left for the world to take away from you. Every time they laughed at him, he trained. Every time they called him weak, he pushed harder. Every time they tried to crush his spirit, he sharpened it instead. His body broke. His bones cracked. His hands bled till he couldn't even close them. But his will only got sharper, like a blade that refuses to stay dull. People think strength comes from talent. No, talent creates comfort. Comfort creates softness. Softness creates weakness. Astha had none of that. He grew strong because he was forced to. He grew relentless because the world expected him to fail. He grew dangerous because pain was the only teacher he ever had. And that is why he became a monster they could never stop. Not because he was the strongest, but because he was the one who never gave up. Remember this, life will try to break you. People will doubt you. Fate will test you. But if you carry Astha's mindset, if you refuse to kneel, if you keep climbing even when your legs shake, then there is nothing in this world that can stop you. This is the truth Astha lived by. If the world shuts a door on me, I'll tear the whole damn wall down. And that is where your story begins. Astha's journey didn't begin with strength. It began with humiliation. You know that feeling, don't you? When people look at you, but they don't see you. When they judge your limits before they've ever seen your effort. When they've already decided what you can and can't become. Astha lived inside that cage his whole childhood. Every whisper, every smirk, every insult carved into him like a scar. Magicless, worthless, failure. He heard those words so many times that anyone else would have broken. Anyone else would have walked away. Anyone else would have accepted reality. But Astha, he did something terrifying. He turned every insult into fuel. Because that's what the world never understood. When you push a weak person down long enough, they don't stay weak. At some point, something inside them snaps. Astha learned to love the suffering, to embrace the pain, to chase the struggle, to run into the fire instead of away from it. While others slept, pushed past exhaustion. While others trained, he trained harder. While others wished he acted, there was no talent protecting him, no magic helping him, only grit, only rage, only a promise he made to himself. I'll rise so high that your laughter will choke you. And slowly, the same people who mocked him started to fear him. Because nothing is scarier than a man who has nothing to lose and everything to prove. Astha wasn't born a threat. He became one. And that's what you need to understand. You don't need talent. You don't need approval. You don't need someone to choose you. You just need a reason, a fire, a hunger so deep that giving up feels more painful than pushing forward. Astha had that hunger. And that hunger turned him from a boy into a force the world couldn't stop. Every strong person has a moment where everything collapses. A moment that should have destroyed them. A moment the world expected them to stay down forever. For Astha, that moment came the day he realized the truth. No matter how hard he pushed, he would always be the magicless kid in everyone's eyes. Imagine that. You're giving your entire soul to rise, but people still drag you back to the version of you they're comfortable with. That's the moment most people break. That's the moment they stop dreaming. That's the moment they accept their fate. But Astha, he didn't break. He transformed. He clenched his fists, looked at the world that hated him, and whispered something only legends understand. If reality refuses to change, I'll destroy that reality. That was the moment Astha became dangerous. Not because he had strength, but because he had resolve. A resolve that didn't shake when he failed. A resolve that didn't fade when he bled. A resolve that didn't fear pain, rejection, or destiny. He reached the point where most people quit, and he kept going. He walked past the edge, past the limit, past the line the world drew for him. That's the breaking point the world fears, not when you weaken, but when you realize you don't need anyone's permission to become unstoppable. Astha learned something powerful. Your life changes the moment your pain becomes your weapon. That day, he wasn't just fighting for a dream anymore. He was fighting for revenge. Revenge against doubt. Revenge against fate. Revenge against every voice that once said, "You can't." And with every step forward, he carved his answer into reality. Watch me. Most people train when they feel motivated. Most people push when the world claps for them. Most people chase greatness when they feel supported. But Astha, he trained hardest when the world laughed at him, when the world mocked him, when they said he had no talent, no potential, no magic. That's when he became dangerous. Because here's a truth most people will never accept. Sometimes your greatest evolution happens in silence, in isolation, in those lonely moments where no one believes in you but yourself. Astha lived in those moments. He wasn't gifted. He wasn't chosen. He didn't have a prophecy. He didn't have a special destiny written in some ancient book. He had work. He had grit. He had the will to suffer more than everyone else. While others used magic to make life easier, Astha pushed his body until it screamed. While they slept comfortably, Astha was awake, swinging his sword in the cold night. While they complained about their struggles, Astha fought battles no one even saw. That's why his rise wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't fate. It was discipline born out of humiliation. It was strength carved from years of being underestimated. It was rage converted into focus. Every laugh they threw at him became fuel. Every insult became motivation. Every doubt became fire. Astha understood something most people refuse to learn. Respect is earned in private, long before it's recognized in public. And that's why the world feared him. Not because he was strong, but because he trained like he had nothing to lose and everything to prove. He didn't rise to be accepted. He rose to show every doubter that their words meant nothing and his will meant everything. There's a moment in every warrior's life where the world doesn't just doubt you, it tries to break you. Astha reached that moment early. Every day felt like a test not of strength, not of skill, but of heart. Because the world wasn't just saying, "You can." It was saying, you shouldn't even try. You know what that does to a normal person? It destroys them. It makes them small. It convinces them to quit quietly before anyone sees their failure. But Astha wasn't normal. He was built different. He used every rejection as sharpening stone, every insult as weight on his shoulders, every setback as another rep in the gym of life. They said he had no magic, so he created strength from nothing. They said his dream was impossible, so he trained until the impossible got scared of him. They said he was too weak, so he embraced weakness and turned it into discipline. That's Astha's real power. Not the sword, not the anti-magic, not the battles. His real power was that nothing, not pain, not fear, not doubt, not destiny, could make him stop. Because when you've been broken enough times, you stop fearing the break. You stop fearing the hurt. You stop fearing the fight. Astha learned to smile through the struggle. Not because it was easy, but because he knew growth hides in the places that hurt the most. He didn't want a safe path. He wanted a path that would force him to evolve. He wanted a fight that would push him beyond what anyone thought possible. That's why Astha is unstoppable. Not because he wins every battle, but because he shows up to every battle with a heart that refuses to die. He doesn't wait for hope, he creates it. He doesn't wait for strength, he builds it. He doesn't wait for permission. He takes the path and makes it his. And that's the message he leaves for anyone watching. If they try to break you, let them. Because what survives afterward will be unstoppable. There's a secret Astha learned early truth most people never understand. The impossible isn't real. It's just a wall built by people who stopped trying. When the world looked at Astha, they saw a kid with no magic, no talent, no chance. But when Astha looked at the world, he saw something different. He saw a battlefield where effort could cut through destiny itself. Every time someone said, "That's impossible," Astha heard, "This is your next target." And that mindset, that hunger, that refusal to bow, that's what separates him from everyone else. Most people wait for motivation. Astha created his own. Most people quit when they get tired. Astha kept going until his limits broke. Most people fear failing. Astha feared one thing, giving up, before finding out how far he could really go. He didn't want a destiny written for him. He wanted a destiny carved with his own scarred hands. He took every weakness and forced it to become strength. He took every fear and turned it into fuel. He took the words, "You can't," and turned them into, "Watch me." Because Astha understood something deep in his soul. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is swinging anyway, trying anyway, standing anyway. And that's why every moment he breathes, every punch he throws, every challenge he faces, it all comes from one truth. He refuses to kneel to anything. Not fate, not limits, not the impossible. Astha doesn't follow hope. He becomes hope. Not because he's special, but because he never allowed the world to decide what he could be. And that's the lesson hidden in his scars. If you stop running from the impossible and start attacking it, it gets smaller and you get stronger. Astha didn't fear the impossible. The impossible feared him. Listen closely, because this is the part everyone forgets. The part Astha lived through. The part you need to hear. The world isn't testing how strong you are. It's testing how long you can stay standing. And that's why Astha always wins. Not because he's the fastest, Not because he's the strongest, not because he was chosen. He wins because he refuses to sit down when life tries to knock him out. He wins because he swings last. He wins because no matter how many times he gets slammed into the dirt, he gets up like someone who knows his story isn't done yet. That's what you need to carry with you. You don't rise because you're fearless. You rise because you're not done fighting. Astha proved a truth stronger than any spell. When your heart is louder than your doubt, when your will is heavier than your excuses, when your dreams mean more to you than your fears ever could, then there is nothing, no destiny, no limitation, no enemy that can stop you. So here's your final command. Stand, clench your fists, lift your head, and swing harder than the world expects. Because like Astha, you weren't born to follow. You weren't born to break. You were born to rise higher than anyone believed you could. Now go. Deliver your next blow. Your story continues, only if you do.